Pop quiz, word gamers. Both of these sets of letters can be unscrambled to form common 7-letter words. Can you find them? Pause for a moment if you need to. The odds are pretty good that you can find the first one. It's joggers. You should give yourself a big pat on the back if you were able to find the other one, which is seasick. This one is definitely the harder of the two. But what makes one Scrabble word harder than another? And if some are harder than others, which word is the absolute hardest one? It's a tricky question to answer, but we can start by examining this decades-old meme. If you've never seen this before, you'll likely find that you can read this text surprisingly well, since, as the text itself explains, the only important thing is that the first and last letter be in the right place. This meme is technically a hoax in that nobody at Cambridge ever actually researched this topic, and keeping the first and last letters in place isn't a guarantee that you can instantly find each word, but the meme's core assertion is essentially true. Actual research confirms that readers who attempted to process jumbled text lost 11% of their maximum speed when the first and last letters of each word remained in place. The same readers lost 26% of their speed when the final letters of the words were also transposed, and 36% when the first letters of the words were transposed. This is really useful for word game players across the board. Crossword puzzlers can place extra emphasis on the first and last letters of their answers. Wordle players can prioritize the initial and terminal letters in their words. But Scrabble players are best positioned of all to take advantage of this secret ability of the human brain, since anagramming is such a core part of the game. Returning to the introductory quiz, the first thing your brain wants to do with these letters is put the S at the end of the word, since the S inflects so many nouns and verbs in English. But the J is just as important here. There are 34,000 7-letter words in the most recently updated Worldwide Scrabble Dictionary. Of these, only 684 contain a J. Within this group, 461 words begin with the letter J, by far the most common position of that letter. As an English speaker, when you see a J in a word jumble like this, your brain wants it to be the first letter. And in the case of joggers, it's absolutely right, leading you to find the word quickly. A lot of Scrabble's highest scoring letters have this same tendency to be first. The second word, on the other hand, defies all your expectations. This word has 2 S's, but neither of them are the final letter in the word. Not only that, the C and K are both in uncommon places compared to where they usually appear in words. These factors, along with the fact that compound words are inherently tricky to solve, combine to make seasick a very tough word to anagram. Your brain wants this word to be sackies, as does ChatGPT, but it just isn't. So how do Scrabble players learn to reliably get seasick? This may sound a bit crazy to casual players, but many tournament players, myself included, practice anagramming literally every day. The goal is to spend less time finding words in-game and more time choosing between the words we see and fully enjoying Scrabble's strategic depth. If you've ever played the jumble in the newspaper, just imagine that, but on steroids. Sites like Aerolith are fantastic for anagramming practice, with new challenges available every day. In fact, Aerolith recently released a difficulty metric for each word, which inspired me to make this video. These difficulty ratings are determined by each alphagram's success rate as a quiz question over a period of many years. A quick look at the most difficult alphagrams reveals that there are a couple additional ways a Scrabble word can be hard to solve. The most obvious is that the word is so obscure or archaic that normal English speakers would never have seen it before. Many people are frustrated by the amount of these words in Scrabble's dictionaries. Others are tough because they have a ton of solutions, making them difficult to answer correctly in their entirety. This isn't really what we're after here. We want the hardest individual words. I should also mention that 9-letter words and longer become increasingly tough, the same way juggling more objects becomes tougher for jugglers. But because you only get 7 letters on your rack in Scrabble, anything above 8 letters in length appears too rarely to be that useful. In my opinion, what we're looking for here are words that are hard not because they're obscure, but rather words that are difficult to solve despite being common. So, with a big assist from Aerolith's developer and expert Scrabble player Cesar del Solar, I cross-referenced the highest difficulty Aerolith questions against a crowdsourced list of common Scrabble words. Again, our hypothesis is that the absolute hardest words are likely to have combinations of first and last letters that defy our expectations. As expected, jogger is one of the easiest 7-letter words of all, and seasick is one of the absolute toughest. Here are 5 more of the hardest 7-letter words in the entire dictionary, presented as alphagram quiz questions. Take a moment to see how many of these you can figure out. As you can see, 3 of these words contain an S, but none of them appear at the end of those words. The word with the Y in it doesn't end in Y, and another one starts with an E and ends with an O, a very uncommon starting and ending letter pair. In general, 8-letter words are even more difficult than 7s since there's an additional letter to deal with. So, to crown the absolute hardest Scrabble word, that's where we're going to look. Here are the maximum difficulty 8-letter words we'll be choosing from. Once again, take a couple moments to see how many of these you can get. Just as with the 7s, not a single S or Y goes in final position. Anecdotally, I've definitely gotten all of these words wrong many times in my own practice, but if I had to pick one to crown the absolute hardest, it would have to be sriracha. The SR combination to start this word is extremely unusual, which makes sense since English stole this word from Thailand where this tasty sauce was originally created. And the A in the final position is also not what your brain wants either. It says a lot that this word is a maximum difficulty one despite being omnipresent in fast food commercials in the past few years. Of course, there's always going to be some subjectivity to analysis like this. If you disagree with my choice and want to nominate any of these other options as Scrabble's hardest word, or you have an entirely different word to suggest, let me know in the comments. If you really want a challenge, I recommend paying a visit to Aerolith and quizzing yourself on the highest difficulty Scrabble words, including the obscure ones. Good luck, you'll need it. As always, thanks for watching, hope you learned something, and see you next time.